What's up, you guys? It's Two Bricks, and today's episode is very exciting to me because it's the first ever live action television show addition to the Microfleet series, and I know that there's going to be a lot more live action shows in the future, but Kid Me is definitely just so excited that such a thing even exists, and that luckily The Mandalorian was actually a fantastic TV show. So that's all awesome, and of course, being as how I'm assembling the biggest fleet of ships ever assembled at the same scale for LEGO Star Wars, I had to add these two ships from the show to the collection. So today I'm going to be giving you a look at the Razor Crest and the modified ATST Raider from the show. So yeah, let's dive right in. We'll take a look at some of the techniques and talk about some of the challenges that I had designing these vehicles. All right, you guys, so here is the ATST Raider. First of all, start with the smallest. And really, this one was no challenge at all because I'd already designed an ATST at this scale for my regular fleet series, and it was just a matter of recoloring the parts. Unfortunately, there isn't a good substitution here for the brown kind of rusted leg, but I was able to get the red in there at least. And as far as I can tell in the show, this is a regular ATST. I looked at it pretty closely and I couldn't see, other than the fact that it's kind of rusted and you know, seen better days, it really looks like a standard ATST walker, so I was able to just translate this with no problem. So yeah, not much to say with this one. This was a great episode. I really enjoyed the whole dynamic between the characters and this thing. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it, but it's a pretty cool episode. So there is the ATST Raider, the one official vehicle that LEGO has given us in a set so far, and a pretty great set too, so that's cool. All right, and then here is the main event, of course, the Razor Crest, the ship of the Mandalorian himself. I won't say anything else about him. I want to try to keep this review or this episode spoiler-free for people who haven't got the show. I know that I think the UK doesn't get it until March, which seems criminal to me, but you know, it is what it is. But anyway, if you've seen any marketing of any kind about the show, you know that this is the main ship belonging to the Mandalorian, the Razor Crest. And as of the time of the recording of this video, I haven't been able to find any good official size information about the ship on any kind of, you know, canon trusted website. So I've had to kind of do some guesstimating with this one, and I have a few ships that I can compare it to that I think are fairly useful. So I think the first most obvious kind of comparison for the size is that it bears a lot of resemblance to the Republic gunship, and there's actually a lot of people theorizing that this may even be just a standard gunship from the Clone Wars, just heavily modified. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, it shares a lot of similarities being that it is a gunship, but yeah, I think it's probably a different design entirely. But I made sure that it stayed fairly close in size to my LAAT gunship here, because, you know, if they're going to be in the same kind of family of designs, it makes sense to kind of start there. And if you recall, the gunship for the Clone Wars has two pilots at the front and then a crew cabin underneath here, which can seat, I think, something like 20 people. And if you think about the interior space that is available from the show, it feels like there's a similar amount of space in the bottom of this ship here. So that was my first guess. Also in the show, we see the ship sitting next to one of these guys at one point, a sandcrawler. And you can see that the ship is a lot smaller. I mean, it's the way that the shot is set up. The ATST, or ATST, the Razor Crest is kind of far in the distance behind it. And if I take this off the base, you might get a better sense of it. It's sitting on the ground further back in the distance, and the size comparison when I look at it here feels approximately correct. So I feel as though I had a pretty good stab at something like an accurate size for this guy. Couple of last minute comparisons for you here. The Millennium Falcon next to the Razor Crest, and Dash Rendar's Outrider as well. And you know, you can kind of imagine, I think pretty well what the interior spaces and the amount of space in these feels like, and then putting them next to the Razor Crest, I think it feels about appropriate. So enough about the size, which by the way is, I want to say 6.5 studs long. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sorry, 8.5 studs long, which translates into, I think, about 25 meters in my scale. Let me just double check that. Yeah, 25.5 meters at my scale. So that, if that ends up being close to what the official number is, I'll be very happy. So onto the ship itself. There's a lot of really subtle things in the design that I was super happy to be able to get into this particular iteration of the model, especially at this scale. One big thing was these black lines that come down the front of the ship that are pretty kind of recognizable, and then this shape in here, there's kind of a little round shape, and then but this kind of big flat plate on the front. I think this all works out really, really well, and I just used one of those ingot pieces in the middle and then surrounded it with these modified plates with the rail on the side, and just comes together in a really, really pleasing way. And then I'm able to, of course, attach the guns on the side here, which are pretty prominent as well. And I think that all came out great. And then I'm using one of these slope pieces, which is on the side to create the windshield, and kind of cutting into it with this modified wedge plate, which I think that all, again, just comes together really perfectly. And then being able to get this stripe that comes down, the yellow design that carries up into the top of this wing here, that all feels really correct to me. There's this little kind of curved section at the top here where there's a hatch, or what looks like a hatch. I don't think you ever see it opening on the show. This whole back section is just attached with a single stud, so it's a little bit fragile, but I think it holds on, well enough. And then I have the two side doors here for kind of loading up cargo / bounties, and those are fairly large kind of ramps that extend down, and I just have those represented with the rounded, half-rounded modified plate. And then, yeah, just a pretty simple sideways construction here on this on the back to get the slope. But you can see the inside has a little bit more going on. I'm actually going to be creating the instructions for this and putting them up on my Rebrickable, so you guys will be able to see how that's done when you get those. Those will be free, so you can go and check that out. And I will put a link in the description and also in a pinned comment when that's available. So for the engines, getting the wheel pieces that I wanted to use to fit into this section and still have this 45-degree wedge plate was a matter of using one of these Technic pins, or I guess half pins with the stud on the front, and then you can push those in and it can just kind of click in there, but without going all the way in, so that you just have just enough space for that to sit in there comfortably. And I think the actual design of this wheel plate, or this wheel front section here, gives just the right level of detail and the suggestion of those kind of big turbine intakes that the ship has. And it'd be nice if I could get these sections of the engine to be just a little bit beefier so that it doesn't have quite such a drop off from the front, but I think it's okay for now. And then in the back section here, you can see I kind of have the little outlet where you would see kind of flame emerging from, and then I have a suggestion of, I think there's like a grated section back here, so when the engines are firing up you can see orange kind of light coming through there, so that's why I have those. But yeah, I think it's a really, really nice looking ship, very, very slick, and a really nice kind of addition to the Star Wars canon of ship designs, especially for, bounty hunters, or they have to have really cool ships. So I think they definitely achieved that here with this. And the fact that, practical models of this were built and filmed for the show, just like in the original first, Star Wars movie, is pretty incredible. And I think that the guys over at ILM should be definitely commended for their continuing commitment to giving us really incredible looking practical effects and shots. So bravo to those guys. All right, guys, so there the ships are. And don't forget, when I am done with, I'm going to kind of do a similar thing here where I finish out the Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker, and then I will be including all these ships along with those in a big full review series at the end, where we take a look at every single ship that I have so far, the hundreds and hundreds of them, and we'll see how they all scale next to each other. Oh, and I forgot to mention also Resistance. The show Resistance takes place during this time period, so I will be covering that in the final wrap-up video for this kind of era as well. So there we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed the video so far. Don't forget to check out my Rebrickable because I will be adding tons of different instructions over time for all my different models, including all the ones that I've been offering up for free so far on my channel. Those will be available there as well. And anything that was free will remain free. It's just they'll all be in one place, so you'll be able to just browse everything that I have and download whatever you like. So there you go, guys. Thanks so much. I'll see you on the next one, and may the force be with you. Thanks, you guys.